I think there's something you should know. I think it's time I stop the show. There's something deep inside of me. There's someone I forgot to be. Take back your picture in the frame and don't think that I'll be back again. I just hope you understand that sometimes the clothes do not make the man. Freedom. Hold on to my freedom. Well, we did it. Let's do that. I actually sang on camera. Can't believe I did that. Freedom in the Mind. That's from the song Freedom, George Michael from 1990. For those of you who know him as an artist, that was one of his songs, not only about coming out, but also about declaring his freedom. And this song inspired this whole entire episode today. So, yeah, like I said, this episode was kind of inspired around that version of freedom. And the reason why I wanted to sing it is because, well, for one, there were copywriting issues, but I didn't want that because I really want this information. I would like for this information to be out there because what I'm about to talk about with all of you guys is something I have known for I would say about the last 6 months. If you guys have been with my episodes, I've been sprinkling in awakening and freedom in the mind throughout some of the episodes. But today is really going to be a deep dive of how the subject matter I'm about to talk about is really how it shaped my life, how it shaped my thoughts, how it's shaped my philosophies. Um, so we're going to talk about alchemy. And this came to me because I was searching for a new idea and nothing was resonating. I was going through all of my journaling, all of my books, and then I wasn't compelled to talk about something. And it was probably, I think it was last Wednesday, maybe last Tuesday morning. I was at my kitchen washing dishes, and then I got the word alchemy, alchemy, alchemy. And I'm like, how am I going to shape an episode around alchemy? Because it's such a big subject, a big philosophy to talk about. So I wrote it on my whiteboard and I went to the gym. So I took off on my bike to go to the gym. And as I'm riding to the gym, that freedom song came on. And then once the song came on, all the ideas of how to construct the show, all of the brainstorming started to come through. And once I got to the gym, I was able to thumb everything down in my keep notes. And then I was able to come home and just brainstorm it. So over the last week, I've been shaping this episode. But with that being said, everyone, alchemy is what we're talking about today. And today, welcome to episode 21 of the Divine Lux Soul Podcast. I'm Al. My name is Al. And today's episode is titled Adventure to Freedom. And the reason why I titled it Adventure to Freedom is because I feel alchemy will help people. It helped me, and I want to share with all of you how alchemy has truly freed my mind, how it's truly freed me from the chains of my own prison that I have for the last 44, 45 years of my existence down here in this incarnation. So that's what I want to talk about today. So if you guys are interested in alchemy, please come with me on this adventurous journey. It's going to be a really fun episode. At least, well, it's fun to me to talk about alchemy. It just lives in me. But if you'd rather not hear about alchemy, that's totally fine. You can click off. But if you are curious if something is telling you to continue to listen to what I have to say about alchemy, then there's something inside of you that is calling to the subject, calling to this philosophy, and hopefully that calling will help you to evolve and evolve into a higher frequency, a higher being. That's the goal of my episode today. And without further ado, Today is all about transmutation. Today is all about change. Today is all about shedding. Today is all about transformation. And today, like I just mentioned a few moments ago, today is all about alchemy. And I'm going to start with the false truths about alchemy. I know everyone's heard about it before, and I'm just going to tell you guys what alchemy is not and dispel some of these theories and myths around alchemy. Alchemy is not and never was about turning physical lead into gold. Alchemy was never about chasing wealth or riches, meaning finding your city of gold, the El Dorado. It was never about that. It was never about finding a physical philosopher's stone. That's another myth, false truth about alchemy. Alchemy was never about sorcery, and alchemy is not witchcraft. And I wanted to start with those theories or those myths behind alchemy because that's the way, especially when it stemmed out of the medieval period, more so from the Spanish Inquisition and also the papal states. They were trying to dispel uh, alchemy as evil and pagan when it drives all the religions. They were just creating this illusion. That's what I'm reaching for. This illusion of alchemy, and that is what alchemy is not. Let's get into what alchemy is. Alchemy is the truth. Alchemy is an ancient light, knowledge of soul awareness passed down from the great light beings from man's ancient past, which is the antediluvian or antediluvian pre-flood cultures. If you guys never heard that before, um, there existed high civilization before the flood. After the flood, everything was rebooted, but before the flood, this is where alchemy and the secrets came from, the pre-diluvian period, which is time before time. And the philosophy of alchemy gave man the keys to unlock the mind. Moreover, alchemy is about burning and dissolving away the physical ego. It also gives man or human beings um, the power to start dissolving the dark veil of your download of physical self, where you can start the journey of self discovery, start the journey of self actualization. Actualization. I had to get my words together today. Um, and start the adventure of discovering you. Start the adventure of discovering the I. Start the adventure of discovering that I am, and that I am is your golden treasure. You discover your El Dorado, your city of gold that is buried under layers of human physical clothing. I keep talking about this uh, meat suit. That is what it really is. And then we're also, our golden treasure is buried under uh, chains, mental chains in the mind um, that we acquire over our lifetime as a physical being. And in this art incarnation, we become ignorant. And I'm going to explain. So, just to put that all together, everyone, you are the golden treasure. Let's just start with that. But through this physical shaping, through our tribes, teachings, through the being's experiences in life, do we start to cover our own golden nugget? We start to cover our own golden treasure within. And what I just said, in this incarnation, if we're not reminded of it, reminded of our true golden power, our true golden fire, do we start to build and even diminish and tarnish our own golden nugget with this physical body because we can't see? our golden light, but we can see this physical body, and that's all we focus on. So that's what that is really just saying with what alchemy, um, the philosophy of alchemy can give someone if they open their mind and if they start to understand the keys and start to unlock the mind, start to free your mind, start to free those chains, start to um, bring your golden nugget back into its shimmering, shining light. That's really what alchemy is. And like I just mentioned a few moments ago, in an incarnation of life, a physical life, can we become ignorant to our own light? And I'm going to break down the definition of ignorance. Ignorance is a lack of awareness of spiritual truths, of a lack of awareness of spiritual principles. It is a form of deception. And even Plato says the same thing in his philosophy. He says that ignorance is a fundamental psychic flaw that leads to false beliefs and deception, meaning we often misunderstand the inner being. And when we misunderstand the inner being, our existence becomes flawed. Our existence becomes distorted by the physical body, by the physical ego. And I also want to say this too about ignorance is ignorance is also up to the being to understand and come into that it's okay for us to be ignorant. Thing about it is, everyone, when you never do the self inquiries, do you ever not do the questions, you will never, you won't know that you're living in ignorance. But there's always something deep inside of you, just like what the song said. There's something deep inside of me. That's something deep inside of you. Sorry, guys, this camera today. There's something deep inside of you that's awakening. And when you listen to that voice, do you start to start the self inquiry? And I also want to say this too about ignorance. Ignorance, when you do hear the voice, but you still decide to live the way you are, and by not making time to ever contemplate or to question, or you don't want to make the time to start asking the dweller that's within you, who am I? What am I? Who stares back at me? Who is the one thinking? Who is the one dreaming? Who is the animator? That goes back to my fourth or third episode, I think. No, my fourth episode. Who is showing me visions? Who is the one showing me signs? I also want to say this too, guys. Without self awareness, without questions, the being stays ignorant to their own great fire within. What do I mean by that? Everyone, if you never start the questions, if you never take time in your life to start contemplating and meditating, you will live in ignorance your whole entire life, and you will go through your whole life cycle. And it won't be until you are about to cross that into that rainbow frequency will you understand that you were living an entirely false life. But this is what I mean by alchemy. And what I'm about to teach today is going to hopefully help some of you out there to stop living in ignorance, stop living in the false, distorted life of yourself, and come into your true existence, come into your true self, and reignite the great fire that is within you and let it shine brightly. That's my true aspirations for this episode today. And let's continue on, everyone. I got off subject. I also want to say this to everyone. Curiosity of yourself leads to seeking knowledge. It starts opening the door to knowledge, meaning once you start to read poems again, once you start to read text again, you start to read books, you start to explore many teachings of all the great faiths and all the great thinkers that's ever existed in this whole entire humanness that we are here with existing in. And once you do start to read these different texts and learn about these different philosophies from great teachers, I feel like a being or a person can start to cross reference, meaning starting to cross reference to see that there is a commonality within every single word, every single verse, every single philosophy says the same thing once you start opening your mind and start opening up yourself to these different teachings. And also be interested in all the great teachers. And what do I mean by that, everyone? I'm going to go through some great teachers because I know everyone subscribes to many different things, but it's all pretty much the same person when we start combining the text and we start combining the teachers. The variations are slight, but the overall theme is that we are all like creatures. That's all of the teachers' sayings that I've discovered is that's the main message. So the great teachers. Let's start in Judaism. Great teacher was Moses. In Mesopotamia, we have Zoroaster. This is where Zoroastrianism came from. In Chinese literature, we have Confucius. In Christianity, we have Christ. In Greece, we have Socrates. In Islam, we have Muhammad. Uh, in Buddhist traditions, we have Siddhartha. In the Hindu religions, we have Sri Krishna. And then in Egypt, we have Thoth the Atlantean. So those are all the great teachers over time, everyone. That's like I said, it says the same thing that we're all like creatures. But if you never take the time to read the text, everyone, you never take time to um, learn about these different great minds, I feel like the existence is going to be very small instead of very expansive when you start to grow your knowledge. That's what I'm trying to say. Um, I'm going to continue on with ignorance. And before I close this introduction out, um, ignorance can also lead the being down a false path to existing and believing that their given name, first name or surname, last name, defines them. Ignorance also leads the being to believing that old learned fears is their personality. Ignorance also leads um, the being to their physical ego defines who they are. Ignorance can also teach the being that learning and coveting man's knowledge is all that there is. And also, it leads the being down to believing that fate has fixed their destiny, fate has fixed their life, and there's nothing else they can do about it. It is what it is. I'm telling you guys, that's a false truth. And then also, it leads the being to believe that time is a linear thing. That's another false truth. So, hopefully, with that, everyone, ignorance can, you see how ignorance can really impact our existence, can impact our incarnation if we are believing in this physicalness of ourselves. That is what alchemy is trying to wake the being up to. Let's continue on with more ignorance, and I think this is the last thing I want to say about ignorance, because I really want this to drive home to you guys of how um what this looks like, what this feels like uh in our lives. And hopefully you guys can start associating everything I just said with maybe how you are right now, how you were. Hopefully, like I said, guys, it helps you out mentally to start perking up and opening up your hearts, opening up your minds. Um, Ignorance, continuing on, um, will put you into dwelling in fear constantly. It will keep you in hate, division, in lack. It would put you in the winner takes all um, corporate like especially here in America, capitalism, winner takes all. Only one person can make it through. Um, it puts you into this selfish attitude. It also leads the being into always doing. I have to always keep doing something. I always have to hustle. I have to be the doer. this leads us down a false path with that. And living in ignorance also um, traps the being to living off of all of this physical life's pleasures. It also puts the being to believe in false prophets during this time, the great religions and the false prophets who are up there every Saturday and Sunday talking. Not all of them, like I said, not all of them are bad, but there are a lot of false prophets out there leading people down the wrong path of darkness. There is light ones out there. There are some true ones out there, but for the most part, guys, a lot of false prophets out there. Also, it puts the being to always looking outward for help. That's another thing that ignorance does. It puts you in a state of helplessness that you can't do something. You have to have someone else to help you out all the time. And with all that being said, guys, these are all false truths. These false truths in alchemy is the lead. It's the dark night of the soul. It's the dark veil that's over your eyes. It's the negretto. So with all that being said, everyone, this is the dark night of the soul. Everything I just described is what I woke up to when I discovered alchemy. And I also want to say with that to everyone is alchemy found me. Before I discovered alchemy, I always thought things were just by chance, like things were just by luck. That these subjects, these different teachers, these different people, these different videos, these different books just landed in my life. But after discovering alchemy, I realized there's always synchronicities. There's always serendipity. Everything is a cause and effect. It was meant for me to discover alchemy, to talk about it with all of you today. And the Kybalion came to me last summer. I'm going to show the book again by the Three Initiates, Hermetic Philosophy. This came to me last summer and ordered on Amazon. I had to drive a buddy of mine to a surgery that day, so I brought the book with me. I believe I finished this in one day. And this led me to believe that Hermetic philosophy is inside of my soul. If not from a past life, it's just it lives in me because the whole entire book just made sense. And it took me a while to really just lean into alchemy because I was still believing in my what's it called, upbringing as a Christian, that only one philosophy works, and I was still thinking alchemy was something that was mystic or pagan or something like that. So I really didn't lean into it. But once I really started to dissect the material, and even on YouTube, a lot of videos about alchemy really started to break down what it is. And so when I kept revisiting the Hermetic teachings, that's when I said, this just makes sense. And I really started to shed I really started to, the knowledge of alchemy just came out of me exponentially. It kept downloading and downloading and downloading. It was so much information coming through from my wiser one that I didn't know how to deal with it. So I was dealing with that for months. So it started with the sloth series, this whole alchemy thing. And hopefully now it makes more sense of why I have been sprinkling alchemy subjects here and there, because I was still trying to process it myself and then put it on video. I hope it made sense to a lot of you guys. It just makes sense to me. And I feel like on this episode, can I really start breaking down what alchemy is? So once again, guys, just to wrap up the introduction, alchemy is not sorcery. It's not witchcraft. It is not about turning lead to gold. What it is telling the being that this physical body can be the lead that's covering your beautiful shiny gold nugget that's indestructible. That is really what alchemy is. That's why I said it's really a philosophy of light, and it's also a philosophy to guide us during this physical experience, to remind all of us of who we are. And this is why alchemy was such a uh, uh, what's it called? They called it demonic because they didn't want people to understand what it is. But in actuality, um, all those great religions have come out of uh, alchemy. And I'm about to tell you guys why I feel that it's that way. Oh, one more thing that found me too this year. I forgot. Thank you. I'm so glad I make show notes because I always forget things. But um, I picked this up too. This is ancient wisdom from Egypt, or Kemet. This came into my life, I want to say probably February of this year, because I really was curious about reading the Emerald Tablets, because I read the Kybalion, but I wanted to actually read the Emerald Tablets. And so, no, it was March. It came into my life in March. I had Chicago Red Eyes that month, and on Red Eyes, there's really not much to do, so I just started reading. So I finished that book in probably about 2 weeks. It was very fascinating of how we're gonna get into the Emerald Tablet soon. I'm ahead of the show. Another thing that found me was ancient Latin. Um, I never thought I was gonna be learning Latin words ever. I always thought that was something that someone else, some scholar, had to learn. But alas, here it is. Which means again, my soul knew the language, knows the language, because every time I've heard it, I pick it up really fast. So that's what I mean, guys, by this is really familiar to me. Alchemy, Hermetic teaching, Kemet philosophy, Atlantean philosophy. The Latin, Roman language is very familiar to me as well. So this is all coming together. So what am I trying to say about this, everyone? Alchemy has found its teaching to me. It guided me on the path to light, and I'm sharing with all of you how I went about coming into a higher vibration, coming into a higher awareness of myself. And I also want to say, guys, that alchemy really is the path to the soul's fire. It's a path to the soul light. And I want to quote this. I found this in a book, and then I found this in one of my local teachers here at my yoga studio. He said, when a student is ready, the teacher appears. So, what does that mean, guys? Like for me, when I was ready, alchemy appeared. When I was ready, the teachings of yoga appeared. When I was ready, the 8 limbs of yoga appeared. When I was ready, Neville Goddard's teachings, his mystic teachings appeared. So, hopefully this is going to make sense to all of you guys, that nothing is coincidence, nothing is by chance, because all these discoveries along my light path over the last 2 years has led me up to alchemy. Now alchemy, I think, is a really big thing that's come into my life. It's not the last teaching, but right now, I haven't gotten any more what's it called, teachers coming to me yet, but I feel like alchemy, we're sitting really good with alchemy. But the more I know, and the more I'll teach and learn, the more I can teach to you guys. So that's what I mean, guys. So when you are ready to learn something, teachers will come into your life. It can be a book, it could be a physical teacher, it could be another text like another Bible, it could be a philosophy, it could be a poem. Just start noticing the omens, guys. I'm sorry. Omens. You start noticing the omens. Start noticing the signs. When you open your mind and when we become more perceptive to these different things that come into our life, then we can start to make it aware. Oh, my soul is talking to me. Oh, It's my spirit team trying to get me on the right path. Oh, it's God talking to me, or it's Jesus talking to me, or Moses. Whatever the great teacher you guys believe in, they will put people and things into your life to help the soul on its path. But again, if we are ignorant to our true selves, we miss all the signs. Then, once again, you start to live in darkness. You are in the dark realm of the soul, and the soul will start screaming at you. Or it'll push you into situations or push you off the ledge, as they say. But, guys, I just want you to understand how if we are open to our soul, it will give us signs because I mean it can talk, but it does it through signs. It does it through numbers. It does it through animals. So there's a secret language out there that our soul and our believer uses, and dreams is another thing that could wake you up. So as I'm talking, guys, just think about all the times that something you felt something was super random, but hopefully after this episode, you can understand that it wasn't random. It was put there not only by you, but it was also a contract that you made before coming down here, that was supposed to happen to you, or this experience was supposed to happen to you. So again, guys, this is what I mean by alchemy has truly helped me, because I never would have thought, I never would have said any of those things 3 or 4 years ago, even 5 years ago. Now, back in 2020, if people had known me then, they were like, ah, this not the same person that's sitting in front of this camera. So um, let me also say this to you guys. Like I just mentioned a few moments ago, and adding on, I know all of us subscribe to so many different philosophies, thoughts, and schools, but I want to say this too. With those many schools, alchemy is the great grandfather of that secret knowledge of that school you are at today. And that's why I want to talk about alchemy, because alchemy is the grandfather of it all. It's the grandfather of all light philosophy. It's the grandfather of everything that we are doing today. That's what I'm trying to say with alchemy. And alchemy really is the keys to help. It's really a keys to navigate physical life of a divine soul. I'm gonna say it one more time. Alchemy is the keys to navigate the physical life of a divine soul, meaning it will help you to join together your physical self and your divine self. This is what alchemy gifts us with when we open our minds to it. Um, Alchemy also, want to say, reinvigorates the soul's fire. As above, so below, so within, so without. We just talked about all this. Um, in my other episode, a couple episodes ago, um, in Nada, we talked about as above, so below. That was not supposed to be in that episode, but it came out of me. But here it is again, and we're really going to talk about um, what that statement really means to alchemy and alchemist philosophy. Let's just start with the beginning of the word alchemy. All, al. I'm sorry, all, l. That's Arabic for the. And then we have the chemi, which is the process of transmutation, which is to fuse or to reunite with the divine. It's the coagulation, which is to join together the physical and the divine you. So that's what that really means, guys. Alchemy. It is a transmutation. It is to fuse the physical you and the divine you together. This is just ancient knowledge that the ancients knew. Um, I'm going to continue on. Let's start with Egypt, or Kemet. Um, that's Egypt. That's Egypt's old name. The Ka in Egyptian philosophy is a vital energy fire that animates you. That's your divine essence. That's what the Ka is. So you guys have ever seen that on like Egyptian documentaries or Egyptian hieroglyphs, you see the ka and the ba, but we're going to focus on the ka. The ka is your vital force. The ka is your light fire that animates this body. And I'm also going to, after talking about what the breakdown of the word alchemy is I'm gonna try to imagine, help you guys imagine what we're talking about in alchemy, and break down the chemistry of what the words are really saying. So, like in chemistry, if you guys have been I'm sure most of us have been through chemistry class. There's a Bunsen burner that heats whatever is going to be in the little bowl. Let's just say that. When I read this, I was just like, okay, our divine essence is that Bunsen burner. The Bunsen burner is fire, is the gas that's continuous. Even when you take the object off the fire is still going. And this is essentially our divine souls. It's always shining. There's never ending energy, just like the Bunsen burner is. And then also, guys, I want to say your skull or the mind, this whole thing is the cauldron or the bowl retainer that retains the chemical liquids inside. So in alchemy, that's how I was trying to make this into a physical reality, is thinking about your skull or your skull is the cauldron. And then the metal or gold that they talk about in alchemy is I am. That is your true essence, that the one that's in there. And the way I can physically think about it is like you guys trying to hold like a physical golden nugget in your hand. That's a good way to think about ourselves. We hold it in our hands. We can feel it, we see it. We can make it something tangible. That's what I'm trying to say. And then the lead, like I just mentioned a few moments ago, the lead is the physical self that gradually distorts, covers, and it tarnishes your golden nugget. So I just talked about, guys, if we start as children with that golden nugget in our hands, and over time it starts getting dusty and rusty because all the elements we allow to rust it out, or not to rust it out, to distort it, cover it up, and it loses the shine because we don't pay attention to it, or we just close our hand and we throw it somewhere and we leave it for time to cover it. And with that being said, we go through life. The physical one goes through life, like I said, uh, doing outwardly, you know, um, living their lives, always doing, always hustling, they're living through all the life's pleasures, thinking that's how life is. And then somewhere in the middle of their life, the being starts to remember or starts to have a longing for this shiny, bright light nugget that it used to have. And that's really what a midlife crisis is, guys. Is you've been, like I said, out there running the streets, running around, going here and there, living the living through the world's pleasures, learning the world's knowledge, and never taking the time to pick that nugget back up, that old, tarnished looking lead object, and if you never take the time to pick it up again, um, like I said, you live through the ignorance, and this object just stays there the whole entire existence, and we never revisit what it is. But those of us who are here listening to this episode, or even maybe you have a longing to come back into the light. I'm here to remind everyone listening to this is that is your true self calling you. That is the true golden light calling you back to pick up that object and polish it off and come back to your golden light. Come back to your golden fire. And that's what alchemy is. It guides us back to the light so we can remember what that golden light looked like when we first came to this planet. And I also want to say this to everyone about alchemy before I start getting into really teaching it. Like I said, alchemy came from ancient times. And I mean ancient, guys. I know this linear time of 10,000 years, that's false. We have to throw that out because this alchemy knowledge came from the antediluvian world, which we can push back to at least 36,000 years ago to 60,000 years ago. There were beings living on this planet, and these are all civilizations prior to the Great Flood. And even before the Great Flood went down, there were millennia of the Earth cracking apart, volcanoes. There was things shifting around before the flood even came. So a lot of these ancient teachings that we are talking about today came from that time came before that time before the flood. Um, and the fun fact mythical lands that existed, and these are real lands. We have India. We have the Kumani Kandam. That was a mythical, high civilized culture in their Vedas or in their script. And then we have in Asia, we have Lemuria or Land of Mu. That was another mythical high civilized land. And then out in the Americas, we have Aztlan, which were the Mayans. That's their mythical land of where these teachings came from. And then in the Mediterranean cultures, we have Atlantis or both teachings, the Atlantean. So, guys, those are the mythical um, lands of where all this civilization came from, where all these ideas of alchemy came from. And then in the post-Diluvian era, after the flood, there were survivors. I know in a lot of books out there it says they weren't. There were survivors. And these beings that existed here before came back to reboot civilization again. And these sons of light or these beings of light from these mythical lands returned, retaught the survivors. And so when they started to reteach the survivors of the flood, did we start to see the great river civilizations on the rise, which was around 4,000, well, about 5,000, 4,000, 3,000 BC. Well, more like 4,000, 5,000 BC, we started to see the great river civilizations of Mesopotamia rise. We saw India on the rise. We saw the Olmecs and the Mayans in the Americas on the rise. We saw the Aboriginals in Australia on the rise. And we saw the land of Egypt or Kemet, the Black Land, on the rise because, like I just said, guys, these beings retaught man. They chose certain parts of the earth and they chose certain people to teach these teachings to. And when uh, the humans relearned about themselves, did they start to build great pyramids? They started to build these great temples. They started to know about the stars and alignments, astrology and philosophy. This is and music. This is where all of the reteaching of humanity really came from. And like I was just mentioning, alchemy was a part of that teaching of light. Um, so hopefully that explains the pyramid culture around the world, everyone, and how this is really broken down. And today we're really going to focus on Atlantean or Egyptian Kemet knowledge. The Emerald Tablets were written by Thoth, and he lived probably roughly about 1,000 years or more. And this is where the three times born came from, is because every time he um, ended his life or ended his physical life, he uploaded. We'll talk about this in another episode, but I'm head of the show. He uploaded his memories. He uploaded his experiences to his third eye before he exited his physical body. So when he was ready to incarnate back into a physical body, he could just pick up right where he left off. And then when he decided to leave humanity again, he uploaded all of his information to his third eye, took off, came back into another body, and again, he picked up again. So this is what I mean, guys, by like the knowledge of what's what our souls really do, if we have the training, we can keep coming back and coming back and coming back, and we won't have to keep doing this alchemy every time. We just know who we are. But, you know, for those of us who did not do that before we left our bodies in our previous incarnation, hopefully today, hopefully alchemy, you will understand that once you open your mind, you start opening your consciousness to the true source, which is light, God, then you can start living lifetime after lifetime and remembering those lifetimes. But alchemy can jumpstart the being's awakening. This is really what awakening is, which is what we talked about in the last episode too. And then, so yeah, the Emerald Tablets were written by Thoth. The Kaibalion. Well, I should take this back. The Greeks, when they conquered or came down to Egypt, uh, they first learned about uh, Kemet knowledge, and they took it back to Greece. And then once the Greeks were conquered by the Romans learned about it. And then after the fall of the Roman Empire, the West lost its Kemet philosophy, and it was only in the Eastern cultures. The Arabs or the Arabic culture kept it hidden, kept it alive for a long time, and then the the medieval period, the Knight Templars, they learned of the knowledge, and they rose up in power and strength. So that's what I mean, guys. By anyone who comes into the knowledge of alchemy, they and come into the knowledge of light, can they start to really ascend higher and higher and higher, because it's true light knowledge. The Kaibalion came from three initiates. I think it was in the 1800s. They went to the East, pulled out all that ancient knowledge from the scribes, and they transcribed it into the little book that we see today. So hopefully that gives you guys a good understanding of how the West got a hold of alchemy again, and it turned into a little book in the modern era. So that is the fun facts about alchemy. And let's get into the teaching of alchemy, or Hermetic philosophy, or Hermes Trismegistus, as the Greeks called him, 3 times born, great 3 times born. So today we have the Hermetic laws up here. We have the first law is mentalism, which is the all is mind, the universe is mental, meaning when you start to understand that your mind um, uh, projects however you feel inside of it, you understand how you are the creator of your life. This is where the mentalism of Hermetic philosophy comes from. God created this universe through his mind. We have the same abilities. We create our universes through our mind. So, again, if you guys are feeling stuck in anything in your life, come back to your frequency, come back to your vibration in your mind, come back to your thoughts. This is mentalism at work. Hopefully that makes sense, because I know a lot of these philosophies, we can just say them but not understand how to use them. And this is hopefully teaching all of you guys how to use mentalism. When you feel like your whole life is falling apart, start to re-examine what you're telling yourself, how you speak to yourself, and how you treat yourself, and how you treat others. That's an observation, uh, or contemplation. How does that contemplation come into your life? For instance, let's say, ugh, God, I'm so glad I hate coming to work. Guess what, guys? You're saying hate, and you're saying, I don't want to come to work. So what that's going to do is now you're going to project out hate and non-creativity, because now you don't want to do it, and now you're going to start showing it. But if you say, I'm happy to come to work, I'm excited about doing this today, we're going to have a wonderful Monday. Guess what, guys? Your whole entire day is going to change, and you must stay in that. That's another thing about mentalism is, yes, you can start the day with a great expectation, with a great vibration. But once again, guys, this is where contemplation and observing your emotions and the mastery of your mind, where you start to listen to yourself, catch yourself saying things, which is coming back to mentalism. The all is mind. And when you start to realize what is going on in your mind and what's coming out of your mouth, then you can start using the Hermetic philosophies and gaining control of um, your thoughts, gaining control of your frequency, gaining control of your vibrations. This is how alchemy helped me shape my thoughts and what I say now. It's a very different process of how I speak now. Even talking to you guys today, I feel like it's very different. And then let's move on to correspondence, law number 2. The law of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without. And guys, that's just not a cute saying to say about, Hermetic philosophy. It really is rooted in truth. As above, so below, meaning as in heaven and as in things below us. There's dimensions and other portals that are on top of us and below us. And they act the same way, meaning we are all godlike. We were created in his image, their image. And when we remember that and that we're still connected to that great light source, then you can start understanding your place in this physical world. You can start understanding that this is the physical dream. You are the creator, you are the co-creator, because there's only one creator. But like I just said, everyone, when you understand that you were born out of God, then you become the co-creator, because now you're connected to them and you are co-creating with the creator. So this is what I mean, guys, by understanding what's going on up here. Can you start to change your life and evolve out of thinking you can't do something? But when, like I said, when you understand your true power, when you understand your true light of correspondence, uh, you're connected to God, he's connected to you. The relationship and the mental power starts to reshift your brainwaves, and you can start evolving into a higher human being out of what you're doing right now. And that's a law of correspondence. So once again, guys, and so within, so without. Again, whatever is happening in here goes out. That's it. So hopefully that's going to help you guys with the mastery of your thoughts. And then let's get into law number 3, vibration. Like we talked about in Nada. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Like I said, guys, my hands, my body, my throat, a table, that TV behind us, the plant behind me, the pot that plant is in is vibrating. Everything, that flame behind me, guys, everything vibrates. And it looks still to our human eye, only because our human eye can only perceive so much. But if we were not living in this body, we could see and we could sense all of these things happening all at one time. That's what I'm trying to say with the law of vibration. So that's another awareness I wanted to bring to all of you. And then the fourth one is, let me put 4 up there. Polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. So there's always a North Pole and a South Pole, hot, cold. This is the law of polarity, meaning there's always an exact opposite of something. That's what that really means. So that's the 4th Hermetic law. And then we're going to get into 5, the law of rhythm. Everything flows, everything has a tide, meaning everything, there's like ebb and flow in everything. There is a upswing and downswing, like a pendulum in life. And when you start to master the ebb and flow of in alchemy, meaning, let's say you're on a high, everything's going good, life's good in your opinion. You have a steady job, cars, kids, wife, house, all that kind of stuff. And then let's say you lose all of that. The pendulum swings this way, right? And you're in a state of lack and hate and trying to get back to the good stuff. Well, guys, when you're an alchemist, when you have a steady mind, steady frequency, you understand to move the pendulum a little bit, meaning where you're not living in excess, you're living a pretty solid life, You're not living over your means. So when something does go down, that pendulum only swings back a little bit, and then you realize, okay, I'm having an experience. What is this experience teaching me? And this is the master of alchemy. Once you guys start to understand when something quote unquote bad happens to you, instead of thinking, why is this happening to me? This is when you observe your thoughts, you observe yourself and say, okay, self, what is this experience teaching me? And once you shift your vibrations and figure out what that experience is teaching you, now guess what, guys? You swing your pendulum back into the good life. So that was not in my show notes, but that's how I understood that philosophy when I finally understood it. It's the pendulum swing. Once you start to minimize the swing and the ebb and flows of life, it won't be here and it won't be there anymore. It would just be somewhere right in a sweet spot. So again, guys, this is what alchemy can help you master. And then there's a cause effect. Like I just talked about in the beginning of the episode. I used to think that everything was luck and by chance. And with cause and effect, it says everything happens according to law, meaning everything that's happening in your life, everything that's happened in my life has happened because it's happened according to the law. It's happened according to the way you decided it was going to go down. And everything in your life happens for a reason. So that's what I mean, guys, by once you understand the other five, can you start understanding the cause and effect, number six. Then the last one is the last uh, philosophy is gender, meaning everything is masculine, everything has a feminine principle, meaning there's feminine and masculine energy. There's a projection and a receiving in everything in this universe. I don't care what you look at. Test it out, guys. Start looking around your environment. Keys, for instance, that's the easiest way to think about it. Your key is the masculine. The lock is your receiving. I'm trying to think of something else that's masculine and feminine. Screws and lug nuts. That's another masculine and feminine. Like I always talk about the sun and the moon. That's seen as masculine and feminine energy. So that's once again, guys, throw all the laws together. Do you hopefully with my explanations of how I came into this knowledge, can you guys start to understand how when you start to learn alchemy philosophy, how you can start changing your life, how you can start evolving out of what you're doing. And like I said, guys, this is what alchemy has taught me. It has been a really fun experience. So with that being said, everyone, we went through mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. And this is what I mean by cross-referencing text, because when we pair that with the seven chakra energy wheels of the Hindu Vedas, it's the same philosophies. We have the root chakra, we have the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart, throat, third eye, the crown. All of those chakra wheels say the same thing as the Hermetic seven philosophies. So this is what I mean, guys, by reading and understanding and diving into other texts. Do you start to see the patterns? You start to see the synchronicities in other light knowledge that is out here existing in this world. And let's see, what else can I say? Yeah. So right now I'm just going to focus on, because I'm almost done. It's not going to be a long episode. I want to say I want to read a text from the Emerald Tablets to hopefully get over what I'm saying to all of you guys to make it make sense. Let's see, what page is that on? 132. And I'm going to read directly from the Emerald Tablet. It says, "Mighty." Actually, let me preface this paragraph. This paragraph is Thoth talking to man or talking to humanity. And this is what he says. He says, "Mighty spirit of light that shines through the cosmos, draw my flame closer to harmony to thee. Lift up my fire from out of the darkness. Magnet of fire that is one with the all. Lift up my soul, thou mighty and potent. Child of light, turn not away. Draw me in power to melt my furnace. One with all things, and all things in one. Fire of life strain, and one with the brain. What is that saying? He's calling on the children of light of the cosmos. That's all of us. Draw my flame closer to thee. Wait, no. Take that back. The mighty spirit, the great one, God. That's what he's talking to. He's a mighty spirit of light that shines through the cosmos. So he's already saying that there is a great spirit, there is a great God above them that created this whole universe, and he was calling on that light. It says, "Draw my flame closer to harmony with thee," meaning Thoth is telling human or mankind to pull yourselves closer to the divine one. That's what that's saying. And it says, lift me up, lift my fire from out of the darkness, meaning lift my darkness. I'm pointing to my body. Lift my fire, you that lives in here, lift my fire out of the darkness. And what he's trying to tell us is we have to wake up and come back into light with our divine one. And then it also says the magnifier that is one with all, meaning the reason why man is so attracted to religion or anything with faith or love is because we are a magnet to our creator, to our divine father. This is what that's saying. It's really saying, guys, this is what I mean by when you start to understand different texts, you start to understand that all the religions, especially like say in the Christian Judean faith and other Indian Buddhist texts, man is drawn to religion. Man has always been drawn to the light. And this is explaining why we are drawn to light, because we remember it. We're a magnet to the mighty spirit. This is what that paragraph is saying. And then it also says, lift up my soul, thou mighty and potent, meaning once you understand that your soul is fire, is mighty and potent and magnetic, do you start to understand who you truly are? And this is understanding who you truly are. It says, child of light, turn not away, meaning child of light, you and me, do not ignore the call. There's a calling in all of us to be drawn out of the light. And Thoth is telling mankind, turn not away, meaning do not stay in the darkness. Do not live in the darkness. Come back into the light. Come back into Albedo. And it also says, draw me in power to melt thy furnace, meaning draw in the knowledge. Help me draw in the power. Help me draw in my soul's knowledge so I can melt melt that darkness away. And then also continue on with one with all things and all things in one. Meaning once we start to understand that we are the cosmos is us, do we start to understand that we are one? All this division with men and women, poor and rich, black, white, Christian, non-Christian, whatever else we divide ourselves with, when we start to understand that knowledge, do we start to understand we are one? We are together. We're all light beings. We're all magnetic and potent. But if we put our vibrations of frequencies together, can we start to lift up out of the dark soul of the night? This is what this paragraph is saying. So, this is what, and then also I forgot to say this too. This is what I said by the coagulation. One, in all things, one, fire of the life strain, and one with the brain, meaning the life strain and the brain. This is the coagulation that just came to me. This is what coagulation in alchemy really is bringing your essence and your body, the ka and the ba, together. like I said, guys, this is ancient tech. This is ancient technology. I'm gonna say it. This is ancient technology that the Egyptians knew and all the other pyramid cultures knew. And like I said, we just lost it over time because these other religions wanted to tell us that it was something that was dark. But if you guys listen to everything I said, nothing I said was about darkness. Nothing I said was a lie. Um, and this is what I mean by understanding Hermetic philosophies and understanding um, what true light knowledge is. And you can start understanding your religions a lot better when you start reading other texts. That's what I want to say. Also, guys, let's do. I'm gonna focus on. Actually, no. We talked about mentalism. We mentioned that your consciousness lives within inside of you. Um, your being is full of power and is here to create any experience you want. Meaning, once you guys realize that you are a co-creator, you can start changing your life as you turn this video off today. And like I always encourage all of you guys to do, or all of you to do, journal, journal, journal. I don't journal. Get you a journal. Write it down, everyone, so you can keep yourself accountable the whole day, your whole life, and you try to come back to mentalism. That the universe is mental, meaning plants think, soil thinks, rocks think, you think, butterflies think, trees think, the planets think, the stars think, um, the darkness between the stars thinks. Everything is mental. So once you start to understand how your mind is connected to everything, you can start manifesting in a stronger way. And you start to draw upon the fire within you a little more. This is mentalism. And then, like I said, correspondence, as above, so below. This helps the being to understand and master your mood swings, master your brainwaves, and you start to command your body um, better with the law of correspondence. Meaning, once you understand what's coming in and out of it, can you start to tell it to feel younger? You tell it to start healing itself. You can tell it to calm down, especially when you get into stressful situations in your life. Once you catch yourself having in panic or being in anxiety, now you can use the law of correspondence and say, okay, as within, so without. So now you can start, like I said, mastering your brainwaves, mastering your beta brainwaves. And like I said before, you start to command your body. And I'll give you guys another example. I think I mentioned before in one of my wellness episodes. I used to take creatine and testosterone so I could be strong. And that was me thinking that I wasn't strong enough to lift the weights that I'm lifting now. But when I learned of alchemy and I learned of the law of correspondence and mentalism, I stopped taking all that stuff and I walked into the gym without anything. I just had coffee in my hand. And before I started lifting weights this one particular day, I told myself, Al, you're strong enough. Al, I love you. Body, I love you. And I want to say this to you guys. Once I believed it and felt it, I lifted more weight than I ever did in my life, all because I told my body I love it. So hopefully that's another way to tell you guys the law of correspondence and how to use it, how to apply it in your body. Is when you start to take control, you start to master this. Do you start to master your body? Another example I'm gonna tell you guys. I started fasting, and it was hard at first because I wasn't aware of that I was stronger than my body. And I started to tell my body, I'm not hungry. We're not hungry. And I just go and drink some more water or drink some more coffee. Guess what? I'm not hungry. So, guys, this is hopefully that's an example of my knowledge of how you can start mastering your body for once and for all. Um, it takes, I mean, for some people, it can take a couple of days or a couple of weeks to practice it. But for the most part, guys, once you start to understand the mentalism of alchemy and then the correspondence of alchemy, do you start to transform your body a little sooner than later? And you start to master your body a little sooner than later. You stop letting the body run the show and you start telling it what to do. Because, like I said, guys, this is your vessel. You chose this vessel. So, being that you are of God, by made, created out from God, you're potent, you're magnetic, you're fire, you're golden light. Now you can start realizing, okay, I'm controlling this. This is how your beings really starts to control your body, starts to really control this vessel. And we can start living younger, prosperous lives. So that's what I mean, guys, by evolving out of feeling old. Because when you're telling yourself you're old, guess what the body's going to start doing? Correct. You guys know where I'm going with this. But when you say, I'm youthful, I'm vibrant, we are vibrant, does your body start to generate more cells? It starts to generate more vigorance in the body, and you start walking, you start drinking water, you give the body everything it needs to be prosperous. Guess what, guys? You're going to bounce back. Like for me, I'm 45, and people, when I go to yoga at the gym, they're like, there's no way you're 45. I'm like, yes. I never really tell them my secret, but my secret is telling myself that I am youthful, I am vibrant, we are strong, we are resilient. Does my body start, my vessel start giving it back to me? So this is what I mean, guys. And also, I always encourage you guys to do with that. Not only must you tell yourself these things for the body to start getting in line, but follow it up with good nutrition. Follow it up with vitamins. I really highly suggest to keep putting it in there. A good vitamin regimen is always the best. Let's see. Let's get to the last part of what I'm trying to say, or what I would like to say with alchemy. Um, so I told you guys, I introduced what alchemy is not. I introduced what alchemy is. I even went through the 7 laws, 7 chakras. We went through mentalism and correspondence. And I'm going to come into um, another tool of alchemy. It's called vitriol. And let's jump into vitriol. Vitriol. Let's break down what the V. Let me write it out for you guys so we can see it. Vitriol. VITRIOL. So this is, hopefully you guys can see it. That is vitriol. And let's just say it. Vitriol is visita. Let me say it again. Visita interiora tere rectificando I vinis occultum lapidum. That is all ancient Latin. I hope I got it right. I felt right. That is ancient Latin or Roman for visit the center of the earth. That is your soul. Rectify yourself. That is reflection. Once you take that journey, you will find the hidden stone. Journey within your own, and that's what that saying really means. Visita interiora tere, rectificando, and I vinis ec occultum lepidum. That is all what that is saying. And also want to say about vitriol is to expand on what it says. It's really journeying in within your own consciousness through reflection and self-discovery. You take an adventurous journey that will lead you to your hidden treasure, your stone, or your true golden fire. So that's why I wanted to add vitriol into this episode, is because once I learned vitriol, did I start to really come into a golden exuberance in my life. I was able to really live in happiness and love, and I was really not, I was no longer really telling myself that anymore. I was just living in it because I am it. My soul is that. And it was just easier to live life that way. And I also want to say this too, guys. Vitriol in alchemy, or in the physical alchemy, is like a sulfuric acid that dissolves impurities. And that is all just what's it called? Um, there's a deeper meaning to that. It's just not the physical, sulfuric acid dissolving impurities from a metal. What that really is uh, gaining knowledge. The sulfuric acid represents knowledge. Knowledge dissolves the physical ego, and the self-reflection begins dissolving the lead that's covering your gold. So once again, guys, sulfuric acid is just a metaphor or a cover up for what's really going on here. And what's really going on here is, once you start to gain knowledge, once you start to reflect, and you start to really journey into yourself, do you start to dissolve the physical ego? Do you start to dissolve the ignorance that is surrounding your golden nugget? And this is what vitriol is really all about in alchemy, in my opinion. Self-awareness, self-examination, uh, is also a part of vitriol. Is the realization that this rusty dark nugget, or the metal object that you possess, or you feel you have, is destroyed, is your distorted physical self. I'm gonna say that one more time because I messed it up. Um, like I said, the realization that when you do this self-awareness, you do this self-examination, do you realize that metal object that's you is your distorted self, meaning the personality you feel you have, all the things that you feel you do in life. That's not your true self. That is your distorted version of yourself. Like I said, guys, once you start learning alchemy, once you start the journey back into the light, you start to dissolve your physical self. Do you start to learn um, your soul's personality? Do you start to learn how your soul talks to you? Do you start to learn how your soul wants to live? And this is what vitriol really gifted to me, and can gift people if they truly understand what vitriol really is. And I'm just gonna break down vitriol and give you guys like a physical version of vitriol. Um, like I said, in alchemy, the sulfuric acid. Let me back up. Let's say let's go back to the beginning of the episode. Your eternal self is the Bunsen burner, is the fire. Your brain, the skull, well, the skull that the brain lives in, let's say that's the cauldron that you put the that goes on top of the fire. Your cauldron is heating. So let's say you finally realize what you are, and you're like, how do I start to dissolve my um, physical self? And I would say start by dropping your physical self into your cauldron of fire. What happens with that? It really just sits there and heats up. It really doesn't do anything. But like I said, guys, once you start to add the sulfuric acid on top and fill up the cauldron with knowledge and light sources, does the reaction of the dissolving start? It might take a while because things have to heat up in chemistry, but once the heat starts to build, once the vitriol starts to react with the impurity doesn't like it. And I've seen this before when I was in chemistry class. The vitriol gets added, the impurity on top of that metal doesn't like it. It's gonna start to smoke, fizzle, ignite, and pop. Um, that's really just the the physical ego fighting the true light source because it wants to stay in the darkness. And what that really means, guys, is the illusion is fading away from you. When that was a good, hopefully that's a good analogy to how explain how this happens. When you start to awaken yourself, do you start to feel the heat, feel the fizzle? Everything around you just feels really chaotic, and things are popping all over the place, and you don't know what to do. And like I said, guys, this is the illusion that's dropping away from you. And this is the dark and sometimes lonely journey a being must endure. A being must endure the smoke, the fizzleness, the fizzing, the ignition, because there's different colors, popping off that metal once it starts heating up and reacting with the sulfur. But I also want to say this too, guys. This is where a lot of people stop the vitriol process because they feel they're getting burned. They see fire, different colors of fire sparking off all over the place. Things are fizzling and dissolving. They don't know what's going on. It smells weird. And like I said, people just don't want to face their physical distorted selves. The fire becomes too intense. Let's say that. The heat becomes too hot. And like I said, a lot of people would rather not face their true, the truth that they were the ones that built this personality, that built this physical ego. And this is where they get afraid. They don't know what's happening. They don't know what's going to happen next. You question, what have I done? Meaning you've gotten to a certain place of familiarity. You're not familiar with the unknown. Then they say, what am I doing? Where am I going? Why am I even doing this? And then, like I said, guys, the being reaches in the hot pot, takes out the physical ego, throws it out again to cool off with that metal, with that lead still on top of it. And this is, like I said, guys, this is where a lot of people stop the vitriol dissolving of their physical ego, because it becomes hard, it becomes hot, it becomes too chaotic for them to stay with the vitriol process. And they pull back. And like I said, guys, then they start. Then you stay in ignorance when you do not stay the course and let the fire eventually fizzle out, or things start to calm down. The popping starts, and this is what I had to do when I was going through the vitriol process. Was, yeah, there were days, like I said in one of my other episodes, there were days I was crying. There were days I was happy. The days I was sad. I mean, but I stayed with it because I knew there was something on the other side for me. So that's how I started doing that. And like I said, guys, when you stay with the transmutative path of vitriol and alchemy, and you stay with the path to process everything about you, do you start to see little shimmers of light again? Meaning you start to feel happy again. You start to remember, some childhood memories. You start to forgive people. These are just little spirits, spirits of light that eventually starts to shine and show you that the vitriol process is working. So this is what I mean, guys, by it's going to be hard at first, but once you start to see your light self coming back, you start to feel the magnetic energy of yourself come back. Do you start to stick with vitriol and say, this is just a test to see if I can stand the fire, if I can stand the heat, the ignition? This is vitriol at work. And you keep going, because eventually, guys, once that lead gets dissolved away from yourself, does it calm down, and then you get the consistency and the golden light that you need from your negative. That's what I'm trying to say. Come into the albedo. I'm gonna have to talk about this another time because I'm clocking over an hour now. Vitriol was really an awareness of who you are, which is you are a divine being having a human experience. I'm gonna say that again, guys. Vitriol makes you aware that you are a divine being having a physical human experience. And it's not the other way around. You're not a physical being having a divine experience. No, you're a divine soul having a human experience. That's what vitriol will shed away once you stick with the process. And now you can walk through this planet as a light being. This is what I mean, guys, by alchemy has changed my life, because I woke up one day and everything looked different, everything felt different. I felt vibrations, I felt perceptions. I can look at people now and I really understand their true nature. Interesting. It's interesting, but at the same time, guys, it was a little weird at first, because I went to the gym that day and I could feel everyone's energies, but that's a different conversation. But this is what I mean, guys, by when you start to understand and actualize and feel it, that you are a divine being having a human experience, do you start to treat your body differently? You start to treat people differently, and you treat yourself a lot differently. And like I said, guys, you become aware of the treasure that you hold. You are the treasure. This is what alchemy is all about. Once you learn knowledge, once you start to do the self-inquiries, once you start to questions, once you apply the sulfuric acid to your tarnished nugget, do you start to understand what you really are, who you really are, and you can start coming into a more cohesive, bright, shiny light that you are. And this is all vitriol is burning away the dark veil of physical soul, I mean the physical self, and you come into the light. And yeah, it dissolves the cloak, the distorted cloak that covers your tarnished nugget. Um and you start to unlearn the physical habits of yourself. So I'm almost done. I'm gonna say this too, guys. Vitriol really is a pilgrimage that every divine soul takes in this lifetime, or I say should take in this lifetime. Um, Alchemy helps with that journey. And once you adventure into the unknown, do you start to become a stronger being? You start to come into a higher vibration, and you start to let go and just be one with the universe, and the universe will be one with you. So this is what alchemy and vitriol and mentalism and correspondence really has taught me, and hopefully that can awaken or spark something in all of you today. So I'm almost done. Yeah, we're almost done. So I have a few questions for you guys. Before I get to the questions, I'm gonna say this to you guys. Alchemy, vitriol, is the pilgrimage to leave the darkness, to leave the dark night, to leave that dark valley that you're in. And you must start the climb. You must start to be attracted to the light again, just like Thoth said in his teachings. And you start this series of questions. You start a series of reflections, which is followed by answers. I keep meaning to say that too. You must have answers to all of these things as well, everyone. And I'm going to start questions. Hopefully, this could help you guys think of questions, or maybe contemplate these questions that I'm saying to all of you guys, or all of you today, about how the pilgrimage starts. The pilgrimage, the adventure of the pilgrimage, because a pilgrimage really is adventure, right, guys? Meaning you leave what's familiar, you leave home, and you take an adventure into the unknown, with the satchel on your back and maybe some money. I don't know. But whatever is in your mind, guys, whatever is familiar to you, you must pack up, take some essentials that you need, close the door for the last time, and you start your adventure. This is what alchemy really is teaching the soul. This is what vitriol. And I'm going to start with the journey. So let's say you're like, Al, I'm ready to go. Let's go on our adventure. I would say this too. Get everything that you need. Lock your door for the last time. Maybe sell your house, meaning your physical body. Lock the door to your physical body and let's go. So the pilgrimage for me, when I was putting this episode together, or the adventure, is once you leave your home, now you have to start asking questions on your adventure. I came up with these questions too. Why do I have triggers? Why am I not happy? Why am I always angry? Why am I always in a rush? Why am I always wanting to do the next thing? Why am I addicted to physical pleasures? Why do I feel unworthy? Why do I hang on and cling to my top values? Why is my family name so important to me? Why am I ego driven? Why am I acquiring so much wealth? Why am I money hungry? Why am I selfish? Why do I believe my religious beliefs or habits? Why did I get married to someone? Why do I live in fear? Why am I bound to the place I grew up? Meaning the location. Why are you so bound to that location or city? And why do you always seek, or why do I always seek constant validation? And why do I always need physical perfection? Why do I seek outside attention? And why do I hate people? Why do I discriminate? Why am I attached to my race or ethnicity? Why do I worry about the future? Why do I have addictions? And that can be addictions to money, emotions, people, objects, and habits. So that is the journey of that's the adventure or the pilgrimage one must start, is the questions. And I know, guys, it's going to be hard to start answering these questions, but once you do, your the adventure is gonna the life adventure you started is gonna take you on a winding path. Stay with it. It's fun. Like I said, you're gonna meet so many different people along the way that are gonna help you. They're gonna teach you a lesson. There's so many things that can happen along your adventure, and you're gonna find a new place to dwell, a new place to live. And this is what alchemy really is about. So to wrap things up, because that's the show. I did it today under 2 hours. What did we learn today? We learned that I can't sing. But or I haven't learned to sing. I'll say that. I can't say the word can't. That's not. See what I mean, guys? By alchemy, I caught myself telling myself something that I can't do. But I'm gonna say this to bring this into mentalism of correspondence. I just haven't learned how to sing. But we did hear it anyway. But in that song, did we learn that what Michael wrote, what George Michael wrote, was there's something deep inside of me. There's someone I forgot to be. And this really is what alchemy is when there's that magnetic calling back to the spirit that shines through the great cosmos. That's the something I feel, the deep something inside of me. Um, and then there's someone I forgot to be, meaning you forgot to be your true spiritual self. So that's why I sang that paragraph, because those two verses spot. I mean, the ideas of the show just came out of me when I heard that. So we learned that through that paragraph, this inspired this whole episode. We learned that alchemy is really an adventure to freedom. Um, we learned that alchemy is not about lead and gold. It's not about physical riches. It's not about sorcery. It's about true ancient light knowledge that gives the soul, gives a person the keys to be a successful, savvy traveler. I like to use that a lot. In this physical existence, and coming into your true I am. This is really coming into the I am of yourself, is learning that you are powerful and potent. We also learned about ignorance and how that can lead someone down a dark road if they never wake up to it. We learned about the great teachers in many different philosophies. We found how alchemy found me and how I actualized how it found me. Um, we learned that when a student, you and I, when students are ready, teachers appear. We learned that alchemy really, really invigorates the soul's fire. We learned that alchemy is really Arabic in nature. We learned about coagulation, which is the bringing the physical you and the divine you together. Um, let's see. I broke down Hermetic philosophies. I ran through the 7 chakras in the Hindu faith. We learned about where alchemy came from the ancient cultures of the antediluvian worlds. And we learned of Thoth's teachings. I did read a paragraph from the Emerald Tablets. We learned about self-awareness. We learned about albedo. And more importantly, we learned about vitriol, which is to visit the center of the earth yourself, rectify, internalize, and you'll find the object. That is what vitriol really is. And then once you get down into the soul and you start to go through self-discovery, self-reflection, and you take the adventure to go deeper into yourself, then you find your gold, your golden nugget, your El Dorado, your city of gold. And like I was just mentioning a few moments ago, start the pilgrimage, start the adventure, set yourself off on a path. And like I was mentioning, when you have all the tools you need in your satchel, which is alchemy, vitriol, coagulation, do you start to take your adventure, leave what's familiar to you, and you start the self questions. So that's really all I have to say about alchemy today, everyone. Thank you for always being there with me, listening to me. And I really do hope that what I've said today will resonate, spark curiosity, and really help everyone to um, come out of the darkness and be drawn back into the light, be drawn back into the mighty spirit, be drawn back to the great one. And this is alchemy. So I might come back with more alchemy because there's a lot more to talk about with alchemy, but these were just the starting tools to get you guys out of Negredo. Maybe we'll talk about albedo in the next episode, which is light, which is I love to talk about light, or talk about more light because today was all about light. So hopefully this episode dispels any notion you guys had or have about alchemy, and you can start researching it. Like I was saying, guys, the Kybalion, pick that up. Oh, the Kybalion, that's a better way to say it. And then the Emerald Tablets. And I'm reading a new book called The Alchemist, which I highly suggest. It's by Paulo. It's by Paulo the Alchemist. And to close this episode out, to end the show today, I want to say, and this is from the Alchemist book, from the author Paulo. He says, to realize one's destiny is a person's only obligation. I'm going to say that one more time. To realize one's destiny is a person's only obligations. And like I said, that came from the Alchemist book. So ponder on that, everyone. Think about everything I just said and have really wonderful adventures with it. I love alchemy. I could talk about it all day. So once again, guys, do the research. I'll be back with more episodes. I'm gonna try to bring a guest on. I'm gonna try to figure that out. I have to figure it out because the book I read a few weeks ago. I thought it was a really clever way to talk about alchemy. So I wanted to introduce this episode before I got to that episode. So I'll reach out to the author, see if I could bring him on. But other than that, guys, I'm sorry. Other than that, everyone, trying to evolve out of guys. Everyone keeps saying I say that too much. This is episode 21 of the Divine Lux Soul Podcast, titled The Adventure to Freedom. Hopefully you guys can be free, like a lot of people are. Free yourselves from the darkness, come out of the darkness, break those mental chains, and be the true light, divine spirit that you are. Thanks for paying attention, everyone. Thank you for listening. Have a beautiful weekend. And I will talk with all of you again on another episode of the Divine Lux Soul Podcast. And like I always close with everyone, stay and be curious about everyone and everything, and that includes yourselves. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.